It's showtime, folks, and the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Welcome in, Chasing Big Joe, 1025, 1063, the game. He's Big Joe Dubin. I'm Chase McCabe. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier on the ones and twos. Hope you're having a great, fantastic start to your day. What's up, JoJo?
I don't know. Where do we start, man? Where do we start with all this? This is y'all's show today. Call in. You got the number one pick. What do you want to do? You got changes, things that happen. We're waiting to see what's going on. I mean, this is a day where you just refresh your computer or your phone all day long.
Brian Callahan will speak at 1:30 today, so you can hear that on DVD in its entirety. Willie. So make sure you tune in for that, and that will be good. And then Jared will have full reaction. We'll have full reaction and news as it comes out. So here's what we know so far, just from the league. Doug Peterson has been fired in Jacksonville. No surprise there. We kind of knew that was coming. Gerard Mayo has been fired after 1 year in New England. That one's a little bit of a surprise, but it's also not a surprise because I think it's kind of the case of I started dating someone. There was someone else. I thought I picked the right one. I didn't pick the right one. Mike Vrabel will most likely be the head coach in New England. I just don't see that not being the case.
Right? Where else would he go when that ownership loves Mike Vrabel?
I think Bob Kraft, when he made the decision to go with Gerard Mayo, he didn't think Mike Vrabel would be available. Mike Vrabel became available, but he had already committed to Mayo.
Right.
This year happened. The year was not good. They were not going to be good, but the year was not good at all. He knows Vrabel's available. He saw Vrabel go and flirt with the Jets. Belichick did that. He's like, I can't do this. So he fired Mayo because he knows he can get Vrabel.
I hope the headline of the Boston.
Daddy's going home.
I hope the headline of the Boston Globe is "Hold the Mayo."
Basically.
I know. So yeah, I mean, if he doesn't get it, then I don't know what's happening there. But I just it's crazy. Now we sit here and wonder what's going to happen. So Chase McCabe, the floor is yours.
I think that Brian Callahan will remain the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I've always kind of thought that. I put a thread on Twitter last night right after the game. A lot of people responding and giving their thoughts, which we want to hear from you today at 615-737-1025. Our phone and text line, Jeremy Wilson, KennyHonda.com. I'm going to stay with my statement that I believe leadership in the front office needs to change. I think they need – I don't trust this current group with the number one pick, and we'll get into what should happen with the number one pick, a lot. And so when I say the front office, I'm talking about specifically Ran Carthon and Chad Brinker, both of them. I do get a sense based on some things I've seen on Twitter, based on some conversations I've had, that there could be some change, but maybe not all of the change, meaning one or the other is kind of what it looks like. I'm not going to speculate on that until there's something concrete. But what I believe should happen, if I were running the team, as Jared likes to say, I would change the general manager and whatever Chad's title is, director or president of football operations.
Okay.
I would then allow the new GM to decide on the coach.
All right, let me ask you a few questions. Why do you think Callahan should come back?
So it's a fair question because people have asked me that of what has he done to make the team better? And the answer is nothing got better. I will give you that. The quarterback that he was brought in to evaluate did not get better. I think I know the answer. I don't think Will Levis is that good. I think that's what that means. Offensive line was not fully addressed by the front office. Again, it was not. They did draft a tackle. I think maybe they drafted a right tackle, tried to play him at left tackle. Ultimately, they may need to put him back at right tackle. I don't know.
They did sign the top free agent center.
They did. Who got hurt? Okay. Who got hurt? That's not Brian Callahan's fault.
But halfway through the season, he wasn't good to begin with. But go ahead.
No.
All right.
Right tackle continues to be a problem. They're going to have to address that. I'm not going to put that 100% on the coach. Secondary got hurt, but some of the late round draft picks that they brought in, I thought impressed. So secondary, I'll say was hurt, but okay. You know, Brownlee, I think, has shown promise, but these guys that they paid, again, that's not on the coach, that's on the GM, you know, got hurt and were hurt, and, you know, they're going to have to figure that part out.
Okay.
Defensive line, okay. Jeffrey Simmons is not this elite player like everybody thought he was going to be.
And these are all reasons you think Callahan should come back.
Yeah, because I'm not putting that on him per se. Run game was fine. I mean, he's not Pollard's not Derrick Henry, but he's over 1,000 yards. That's pretty good. Over 1,100 yards.
Okay.
Thought the run game was fine. Calvin Ridley, it took him a while, but he came on towards the end or halfway through the season. He went over 1,000 yards. Overpaid, but I thought he was okay. Nick Westbrook-Akine is Nick Westbrook-Akine. So to me, if you're going to blame Will Levis on Brian Callahan, that's your prerogative. I don't think you can 100% blame Will Levis on Brian Callahan because Ran Carthon's who drafted him. And if a guy's not that good, I don't care how good of a coach you are, you're not going to turn him into Tom Brady.
So you're in favor of keeping Callahan, bring a whole new GM and front office in here, and then try to work together.
I am in favor of bringing in a new GM and letting them decide.
All right. I mean, there are no right or wrong answers, just opinions. Here's my thing. Gone. All of them.
You say clean house.
Gone. Callahan, this football team down the stretch was woefully unprepared and motivated. That's a head coach problem. He's not getting any better. He never called a play in this league until the Chicago Bears game back in September.
Fair.
Woefully unprepared. They drafted, they signed guys, I mean, just clean house. Just clean house. It's okay. As we've talked about, guys get fired all the time. It's okay. It's not personal. It's business. They get fired all the time. Go find your GM and then step away, Amy. You can't do it, but you're going to have to because you have the worst franchise and football team in the National Football League. Step away. You have shown nothing. 3 years ago, you were the number one team in the AFC, the number one team. In 3 short years, you're now the worst team and franchise in football.
Yeah, and I want fans to hear what you are saying. By the metrics set forth by the National Football League, you are the worst team in the league. Yep. You have the number one overall pick. You did not acquire that via a trade. You got that because you have, I know there are other teams that have your record, but based on the metrics that break ties and all of that stuff, you are the worst team in the National Football League.
And some of y'all celebrated that. Some of you Titans fans celebrated that.
You got the number one pick.
That's sad. But this football team was woefully unprepared most of the season. Clean house. It's okay. A lot of teams have done a one-year coaching out. It's okay. It happens. You move on. We can't go back to the beginning of 2024 and redo all this. You can't. You go forward now. You can't unscramble eggs. You can't unscramble eggs. All you do is go forward. This franchise is terrible. Clean house. It's okay. Find the GM or whoever it is, some hotshot director of pro personnel who's really could be a good GM. Find that guy. I don't care. Just clean house because what you got here ain't working. It's not going to work. And so now where do you go from here? I don't, I'm telling you, this sounds so weird and so odd, and don't hate me. I'd take Dion here now. I don't care.
Oh boy.
I don't care. Give me some excitement over there at Baptist Sports Park. Give me something. Maybe he'll find guys that'll play for you. Maybe he'll bring in a coaching staff that'll play for you. It ain't working. That's my thing. It's not working, and it starts at the top with Amy Adams. You are to blame for 100% of this dismal franchise. You are your father's daughter. It's a terrible team, terrible franchise. You're to blame.
So we're going to do a lot of this today, a lot of reaction. Brett Kern will join us at 10 like he usually does to kind of give his thoughts on things. But I just could not help but laugh. I was watching the game yesterday, and this dumpster fire of a team.
Right.
And look, they weren't out there tanking. They were trying. It's just a bad team.
Yep.
Like that, I loved Callahan's answer. when asked about that play to a guy I've never heard of that scored that touchdown, it was like the Hail Mary that Levis threw. It's like, hey, was he was so and so intended, or was it him? And he just said yes, and then he laughed, and it was just like, look, it wasn't his ball, but it worked out, and whatever. That's the season. But I laughed because this happened during the broadcast of the game.
Time to go to New York for an update.
Guys, this must be a mistake, but I'm going to do it anyway. We've got a Houston Oilers fumble picked up by the Houston Texans and ran back for a touchdown. And yes, that does appear to be 2 times in a row that the Houston Oilers uniforms have been worn against the Houston Texans, and the Texans happen to be 2-0 while wearing them. How about that?
Thank you, JJ, for that history lesson.
That was during the game. They do highlights of other games usually, but they did a highlight of the game that they were calling, and it happened to be JJ Watt, which made it even better. That's on CBS. That's not the Titans' fault, but it just made me laugh because that's just another example of the the dumpster fire that is.
When I saw them, like, oh, they messed up. They're showing a highlight from the game that we're watching right now. And then when I heard JJ Watt say that, I was like, oh man. I mean, tell me that's just not in Amy Adams' face.
Oh yeah.
And look, let's be done with the uniforms versus the Texans here in Nashville.
Yeah, I like wear them once or twice a year, but it doesn't always. The first time against the okay, I'll give you that. But it doesn't have to be every time.
Right. I don't know that, but that's embarrassing.
Work something. The Patriots come here next year. Let's do the Oilers and let's do the old Pat.
No. Remember last time they did that? What happened? No, we can't do that. It was 59 to nothing.
I don't care. No, I'm demanding it right now.
That was one of the worst games.
In fact, if it doesn't happen, I will lose my job, but I will tell everybody on the station not to talk about the Titans ever again.
Okay. Could you imagine that? Not talking about him?
Jared couldn't do it.
We're not talking about him today.
Jared would be banging on Bud Walter's door saying to get me out. So
right. I think a lot of people would do that.
They'd probably be right.
But that's something. I mean, so it's embarrassing. And that adds more embarrassment to what's going on over there. I mean, how could she walk around just with a smile on her face when your team that you own, that you have meddled in, is the worst team in football? People get fired for that. I know you can't fire the owner, man, but I just don't know where you go from here. And you're going to bring Callahan back? You don't make any changes? Then you deserve to be the worst football team again next year.
615-737-1025. We will get to your comments. You can call, you can text, you can vent, you can whatever. You can agree, you can disagree. It is all on the table today. The Titans season officially over, and they officially have the number 1 overall pick in the draft coming up here in a couple of months. What happens now? Should Brian Callahan be back? Should Rand Carthon be back? Should Chad Brinker be back? Should anybody else be gone? What do you think? 615-737-1025. We'll discuss that and much more next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Do you believe this team can become a winning football team, or is there going to have to be some serious changes in this offseason?
Oh, absolutely. I think we can be a winning football team. I think if you look at the things that we can control, that we can improve, the turnovers, the penalties, the negative plays that we had, sacks are part of that. There's a lot of things that we can improve coaching wise. There's a lot of things we can improve schematically that I think will allow us to be a competitive football team. And we were competitive in games this year that we had opportunities and we found ways to lose the game, which is, that's what we got to stop doing. We got to find ways to protect the ball better, less penalties. And we're going to put ourselves in better position. Obviously, keep adding as many good players as we can add, and I think we have a chance to be a really good football team. And we just got to keep building that process as we go along. But I got a lot of belief in the guys in the locker room, the players that are here, the players that we'll end up adding at some point. We're just going to keep building, and I got a lot of confidence in where we're headed and how we're going to get there.
So perfect. The Undertaker's theme on the Titans season. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Also, Raw debuting on Netflix tonight, so I'm kind of in the wrestling mood, so it works. But what do you think about that? And look, you believe that just full-scale changes need to happen, clean house.
Gone. Goodbye.
I believe it needs to be the front office. New front office can decide on the coach. I'm not saying I'm against a house cleaning. I'm just saying I think it's more important to get the GM figured out, and I would go hire somebody with experience. My name, you want a name? I'll give you a name. Thomas Dimitroff. Thomas Dimitroff did a fantastic job in Atlanta. Was it time for changes because they never rebounded after that Super Bowl collapse?
Okay.
Yes. But Dan Quinn, I think we're seeing how good of a hire Dan Quinn is in his second time around. Dimitroff hired Dan Quinn. People forget. You know who Thomas Dimitroff drafted? You ever heard of Matt Ryan?
Yeah.
He's pretty good. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he was pretty
Falcons
good.
were competitive
pretty good,
for
right?
many, many years in the
Dimitroff
teams.
drafted Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So he knows how to find a quarterback. Did they win a Super Bowl? No, they did not, but they got there and they should have won.
Right.
But they didn't because Tom Brady and the Patriots.
All right. So if you hire your guy, do you want that guy to have his head coach?
I want him, I would say, if I'm the Titans, if I'm the same, maybe Thomas, welcome to Nashville. We've got everybody in the lobby to cheer you on. Now you go do what you want to do at head coach. I'm already paying one guy. I'll pay another one if I have to. You go do what you need to do. I support you. I'm going to go get out of here. I'm going to go to Houston and you have fun. You call me if you need me. I'm serious. That's what she needs to do after she does a press conference explaining all this and how this is all going to work, which she probably won't do. She'll sit down with Mike Keith before
and do all that.
He does things
before he takes the Vols job,
before he sings Rocky Top.
So if you're Amy Adams, you want Mike Vrabel to take the Patriots job. You know why?
I don't care what Mike Vrabel. If I'm Amy Adams Strunk,
no,
I don't care what Mike Vrabel does.
Yeah, you do, because he's off your payroll.
Right. Well, true. Good point.
All right. So go have fun doing it. I'll write you a recommendation letter. Just go. You're off my payroll. But hire the GM and let him work his magic down the way. You hired Brian Callahan, who never called a play in the National Football League. All right. I know we've harped on this before. He was even a guy that's like, oh, we love this guy. And he was just like a guy that coach. I made suggestions to Zach Taylor to do that. All right. Thanks, Brian. We saw you one here in Nashville. Take care of yourself and be gone. Clean house. Bring the GM and let him do whatever he wants. But I'm telling you, man, and I hate being this way, I think I'm on the Dion train now. Just bring him in. If you're going to leave and come to the NFL,
all right. So you are saying draft Shedeur Sanders #1 overall and have Dion as head coach.
What's the other? Give me something better than that. I'm here for the excitement now. This is a damn reality show. The reality show I'm watching over there right now, I'm turning the channel. You think I'm going to watch the Dion reality show? You damn straight I am. And what if he wins games? We're all like, oh, wow, he's going to do it. What if he comes here and wins games and guys want to play for him? Right now, nobody wants to play for this franchise. Yeah, it's about money. I get all that. Guys will get the money and all that. But other than that, why are you coming here? You don't win any games. You're not going to go anywhere. Bring him in. Let's have the circus here in Nashville. We'd love it. And fans, you would love it too. And you say you won't. You would.
Here's the thing. Like fans, this is the first time I'm going to use this word today. Fans are going to bitch and moan no matter what.
Man,
they are. They are. Like it doesn't,
right.
Like fans that are saying, like there are fans that replied to me on Twitter last night. This is the problem. You want to clean house. Rand did a fine job. John Robinson screwed everything up because you want to blame everything on John Robinson. It doesn't matter that, these last 2 draft classes, John Robinson didn't have jack squat to do with, but you're going to blame him for him anyway because you're hell-bent on blaming John
Right.
Robinson. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Derrick Henry. John Robinson didn't have anything to do with him. Okay. Hall of Fame player. But you're going to blame him. Oh, well, the Titans let him walk. That's on John Robinson. No, it didn't. It's on Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker. They let him walk because he was always going to. So, just get over this stuff. Flannel Fred, this will get you fired up. Can you tell Joe Dubin to be more pragmatic? He sounds like a Neanderthal. Firing a coach in back-to-back years as well as the GM twice in 3 years is counterproductive.
First of all, I don't know what pragmatic means, but thank you for that. I'm going to assume that it's some sort of insult, so I'm going to take it the wrong way. I can fire anybody I want. I can fire anybody I want.
Yep.
If it's not working, I'm firing you. It's my team. I'll fire as many people as I want to. That's my team. Problem is, Amy fires people, but who are we going to hire here? Just stay out of the way. Hire somebody, get consultants to say, look, I think you need this guy, that guy, and stay out of the way. She's not. She fired John Robinson in the middle of the season, and they've gone straight to where after that. She's the problem. So you figure her out, boom, then you're good to go.
All right. Mike from Clarksville is a long text, but here we go. This is the only thing that can happen. Clean house and bring in a whole new regime. Hire a coach, hire an offensive coordinator, new GM. After doing that, start fielding calls for the first overall pick. Do not pick Sanders. Get a haul for the picks so we can restock the lineup the best we can with those picks this year and next. Bring in a bridge quarterback for 1 or 2 years. Next year, with the first round pick we get for this year's, couple it with ours and another pick next year and pick Arch Manning. Have him sit and learn and start the following year. It's the only way to do it. Any other way is malpractice. Thanks.
It's a lot there.
There's a lot there. Look, for those of you that hate John Robinson, I'd like to point something out. He did, I guess he inherited it, but the team got the number 1 overall pick.
Correct.
And then he traded it. He traded a couple times. And because of that, ended up with Jack Conklin, who's pretty good. Derrick Henry, he was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Landry was
18.
ultimately a part of that. Like, basically what I'm saying is he did a pretty good job of turning that pick into a lot of picks that turned into pillar players for this team.
Well, he did, but also
that's what has to happen here. I agree that unless, as I said in my tweet, if you are 100% sure that Shedeur Sanders is the guy that is going to change this franchise forever, and he's going to be the dude that you can build around, and he's going to win you championships, and you watch the film and you talk to people and your scouts and everything, and you believe that is the guy, pick him. If you believe that Travis Hunter will be the game-changing player that your franchise needs and will take you to the promised land, if you 100% believe that, no doubts at all, pick him. Same with Cam Ward. I don't think you can say that about any of those players.
right.
So what I would do, trade the pick. Find a team that is absolutely in love with one of those quarterbacks. Trade the pick. Move back to 3 or 4. Get a first next year. Get your third back that you don't have this year. Get more picks. And then I do kind of agree with the bridge quarterback thing because I don't love any of these quarterbacks in this draft enough to say, yeah, that's the guy.
All we're talking about, and look, I love you, man, and I love Ryan Rex Road, but it ain't going to work. It's the negative. What if it works? Why can't we change the mindset around? Like, what if
That's fine.
What if you get Dion and he
That's
drafts
fine.
his son?
But my thing is,
give me that.
my thing is that in as the leader of the team, whether it's Rand Carthon, Thomas Dimitroff, Joe Dubin, you have to be without a doubt 100% sure that that's your guy. You might be wrong. Okay. You might be right. But you have to be working with Floyd Reese for as long as I did. That was one thing that always stood out to me. He goes, as the general manager, when you make a decision, you're all in on it. you can't in the back of your mind or in your circle be like, yeah, I'm taking a shot here. I don't know.
Right.
You have
Right.
to be 100% sure.
All right. I'm
And if you're
I get it.
100% sure on Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders, then go for it.
But you need to make it soon, make it quick, and
Yep.
be all on board about that. Look, I'd watch this. And don't tell me you wouldn't watch the circus that comes to
Of course
town.
I would. And I would, for what we do on a daily basis,
Yeah.
like sitting through the crap that we had this year
Yep.
with this team, like I'd be like every Monday, be like, all right, what they do now?
Tell me why you're coming back next year to watch this team. Tell me why. If you bring Callahan back, tell me why you're going to go over there and sit through that again. The last part of the season was, as a Titans fan, you should be embarrassed. Clean house. Goodbye. Take care. You're getting paid. That's fine. I'm out of that. And then go have some fun, damn it. Go bring something here. You're moving to a stadium in 2 years, right? Let's have some fun. Build some momentum. Go back to John Robinson for a second. 14 and 15 were two awful football teams here in Nashville. Awful. Robinson comes in, 16 winning record, 17 playoff win, 18 they go to the last game to get in, but sissy ass Mariota can't play the game. Gun. 19 AFC Championship, 20 they deal with COVID, they go to the playoffs, 21 they're the number one seed, right? So along the way you're going to make bad picks in the draft. I get all that, but John Robinson changed that culture. He changed it. You can argue all you want to. And the Traylon Burks pick was awful, but it came off the fact that he had to say goodbye to A.J. Brown because Amy Adams said trade him. Trade him. She did not say, I'm telling you right, she did not say, what do you want to do, John? Let's do what you want to do. John Robinson would have said, he's a damn good receiver. I'm keeping him. That never happened until I hear out of her mouth that she said, I want him traded. It's John Robinson wanted him there, and it was her fault. So stop with the BS. We can't go back now. Just go forward. So hire somebody that's fun, exciting, and do this.
615-737-1025. We got loaded lines. We will get your calls coming up next. Also, Dave Head 77 on Twitter says OMFG at Big Joe on the Go on 1025 The Game just said on air, as opposed to off air, that the Titans should fire Callahan and get Deion Sanders. This guy needs to be relegated to the boards. And then he tags Paul Kaharski, Joe Rexrode, and me. I don't know why you're tagging PK and Joe because they have no decision-making abilities.
It's called an opinion and a hot take.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stand by it.
That's fine. Thank you, Taylor. We will get your calls next. 615-737-1025. Chasing Big Joe on this Reaction Monday. 1025, 1063 The Game.
belabor, I guess, the question, but it sounds as if you're feeling confident going into those meetings that, as far as you know, everything is a go.
Yeah, I keep showing up. That's all I got control over. So I'll be ready to roll and ready to attack the offseason.
Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Chasing Big Joe, presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel. Brian Callahan. I like that. I'm going to keep showing up till they tell me not to. Basically.
Yeah.
That's what we do every day.
Oh, I'm just laughing, man. You guys are all just, you bring up Deion Sanders and you guys get all just uptight and pissed off. I love it, man. Even more reason.
I think people are going to get uptight and pissed off about anything.
I think even more reason to bring Look, is it going to happen? 98% no, but my God, I'd love it.
All right. Before I get to the phones, you just set up a little rant for me that I'm just going to get out of the way real quick. I cannot stand it when somebody gives an opinion like you just gave, and then the initial reaction is, well, it's never going to happen, so why even talk about it? Like I brought up on Twitter that Amy Adams-Strunk needs to do a press conference, and somebody clapped back at me and said, it's never going to happen, so it's not even worth discussing.
I love it, man.
Then why the hell do I have a job? Like, I mean, then why do we even do this?
Well,
stuff?
they're commenting to what you're commenting
Right.
on. So
like, that's why.
Yeah.
You're right. She's not going to get in front of a media corps and talk. Not in a million years. That's why I keep bringing it up. Because, and look, I know not every owner does it, but Irsay, Irsay at least released a statement saying, hey, I'm standing with my coaches.
Right. We got nothing. Hey, real quick for the phones. You talk about she's not going to stand in front of that and ask questions. And you're right. Because at the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in 2019, she was coming down the carpet, and one of her handlers came to me and said, do you have questions for Amy Adams? I said, yes, I do. He says, may I see him?
No.
And I'm standing next to Jim Wyatt, and I said, Jim, do you tell him or do I tell him? And Jim starts laughing. He's like, I'm out of this. I said, that's okay. I said, you'll never see my questions.
Yep.
If she doesn't want them, I said, the fact that you coming down and being confrontational like that tells me that you're expecting something along those lines.
Yep.
This ain't the time or place to be confrontational with her, and I never would. So you were correct, Chase. She won't do it because they want the questions. They don't want to be up there.
I can tell you this right now. If they called me today and they said, hey, we've been listening to you, and you've kind of called Amy out, and she's heard that, she's going to grant you an interview, I'd be like, great, I'm on my way. You tell me when and where, I'll be there. And then they go, but we need the questions first. I'd be like, no deal.
Right.
I'm not going to do, if
man.
you know me well enough and you've listened to me enough, I'm not a gotcha guy. Like I'm not going to bury you. I'm going to ask fair questions, but you're not going to see him ahead of time. That's not how this works.
You're exactly right, buddy.
And, anyway, Michael wants to weigh in. Michael, you're first up. What's up?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. And my question for y'all is, and this is a hypothetical, I'm not reporting nothing. So let's say Amy Adams-Strunk has just fired Rand Carthon and has hired both of y'all to be the GM. And Chad Brinker's gone, just those two. I want to hear what y'all's first move as GM is and what your strategy for the draft is going to be.
Okay, good question. Thanks, Michael. We will answer that. All right. So we're the GM. The first thing that we're going to do, I know what the first thing you're going to do is. You're going to fire the coach.
Goodbye. Oh, goodbye.
Okay. First thing I do, that's a really good question. I would field calls for the number 1 overall pick.
Bingo. Bingo.
I'm not. So this is where we're going to, if I'm the GM, I'm not going to fire Brian Callahan, but I'm going to sit down with him. I'm going to go, tell me about the coaching staff. Actually, let me rephrase that. I'm going to sit down with him first and go, hey, what are you going to do about your coaching staff? If his answer to me is I'm not going to make any changes, I'm going to be like, well, you're fired. Then I will fire him. If he says, well, I've talked to Colt, we're going to move on from him. I can make an argument for an OC, things like that. Then, okay. All right. You're willing to make changes. You're willing to realize, you got to grow and all that stuff. What about your dad? How do you feel that went? I think obviously we need some better stuff to work with. Okay. All right. I'll work on that. and then I'm going to start making calls and listening to calls for the number 1 pick.
That's what I would do. I'd clean house, find me a head coach, and then at the same time, what do you got? What do you got? And do all that, and give me. You might find a windfall of picks. Like, all right, I love that. And then you go out and evaluate talent and figure things out, and that's it. But that's the first thing is listen to answers and who you got for number 1 pick.
Chris and Dixon says, let's be honest. Amy should already know what questions anyone is going to ask her without seeing them ahead of time. Yes. Thank you. Absolutely. You don't need to ask. You should know. You should know what you're going to be asked.
Yeah.
And yes, why did you fire John Robinson would be one of them.
I want to know. I want to hear from her why she fired him.
If the news comes out in the next, hour that she's fired Rand Carthon, and then I get a phone call that says, hey, you and Big Joe can come over and do an interview with her, I'm going to ask, why'd you fire Robinson? And then why 2 years later did you fire Carthon?
Mm-hmm.
Like what has changed so much in that time?
And mine's going to be, what was your decision not to pay A.J. Brown?
Yeah, was that you, or was that him convincing you that trading him was the right move? I want to know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard. And people are like, well, we already know the answer.
No, we
I
don't.
want to hear it from her.
I think we do. 615-737-1025. Kenny the mailman. Kenny, what's up?
Yes.
Fellas, how are y'all doing today?
We're good.
Bubba?
Well, listen, as upset as I am at the Titans, I am really upset at Joe Dubin. Joe, why are you laughing? I'm mad.
Uh-oh.
I always watch the games no matter how bad with my lovely wife of 40 years, Babette, who you once called a figment of my imagination. Last week I watched the game, didn't bat an eye, didn't smile, didn't eat a snack. She was very upset. We didn't enjoy it. This week, watched it, didn't bat an eye the first half, didn't say a word. She looked at me and said, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? I could tell. I said, I can't tell you. She said, what is wrong with you, hon? There's something wrong. I looked right at her and I said, all I see on that TV is Joe Dubin's dog scratching his butt on a carpet. Joe, she did not know you had said that on the air.
Right.
She snuck off and called the Cheatham County Mental Health Association.
Oh, no.
And it took me an hour and a half to fill out all that paperwork because of you.
Did she come back home yet?
I don't know. When all you can see is Joe Dubin's dog scratching his butt, you know it's a bad season.
Oh, it's
if
the best.
If this were a movie, would you have labeled this past season the Towering Inferno or the Poseidon Adventure? Y'all have a great day.
Oh,
Thanks,
that's a
Kenny.
good one.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I'm going to go because the Towering Inferno, you can get off, right? You can get off and run and find a way to escape. Poseidon Adventure, your boat sinking to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
So it's a little of both.
I mean, this boat's been sinking for a minute.
It is. And just what's going to happen? We're sitting here freshing. Something's got to happen, right?
Yeah, and I want to say this too. I got into radio, into broadcasting, whatever, because I am a fan. Because I wanted to be able to give my opinions and speak as a fan. That's why I got in. I'm not a journalist. I don't consider myself a journalist. I'm not trying to break stories. I'm not covering a team on the beat, as they say. I leave that to the professionals. Paul Kuharski, Jim Wyatt, Joe Rexroad, John Glennon. Like I let them do all that stuff.
You break as many stories as they do, so keep going.
I've broken one, like really one, and that was Tim Kelly's title. That was it.
Love it, man.
But my point is, I get on here because I want to talk with you all as a fan, because that's what I am. I'm very passionate. I want the Titans to be good. Like, I pray for a day that we can get on talking about the Titans are good, competing for a championship. The Predators are good, competing for a championship. And even Nashville SC is good, competing for a championship.
Sigh.
That's what I want. I want us to be a championship winning city. But right now, today, none of them are close to that.
Nope.
And that's just the reality in the way it is.
Bring me the circus, man. I want the damn circus.
Jason wants to weigh in. Jason, what's up?
Hey, all right, guys. Hey, here's the problem with waiting for a quarterback next year. You sign a bridge quarterback, a bridge to where? Because you hopefully don't suck as bad next year. as you did this year,
Right.
you're not going to get a top 5 pick for a quarterback. You better get a GM who can reach back there and grab one of these guys that was going to be a good pro that was not that good in college, because you're going to have a bridge quarterback to nowhere. So that's my comment.
All right.
Perfect. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jason.
Actually, that's a very
It's a good call.
That's a 180 from Kitty the Mailman dropped on us. So
180
good.
doesn't exist anymore. Anyway. Sorry. Coming up next, you are going to tell the people of Nashville that the number 1 pick at quarterback doesn't always mean Super Bowl.
Thank you, buddy.
You're going to do that.
Oh, I like this. That's right. Bring it.
615-737-1025. Chasing Big Joe, presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel, 1025, 1063 The Game. Jason Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game here on this Reaction Monday. Brian Callahan will speak today at 1:30. We'll see if any changes happen within the organization before then. But taking your calls, taking your texts, 615-737-1025. But you said something interesting. I think you put it out there on Twitter. Titans have the number 1 overall pick. Some of you were saying take one of the quarterbacks.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. I'm more in favor of trading it and getting more assets. I'm not like super convinced that either one of those guys can be the game-changing franchise quarterback. I don't know for sure. Nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like get as much as you can out of that pick and get even more assets because you got a ton of holes to fill. But you have an interesting stat when it comes to drafting a quarterback number 1 overall and that resulting in a Super Bowl.
Yes. In the Super Bowl era, for the quarterbacks who drafted number 1 overall, not number 1 by your team, but overall, only 3 quarterbacks have led their team to a Super Bowl victory.
The actual team that drafted them.
The actual team that drafted him. Terry Bradshaw, drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1970. You know what he did. Troy Aikman, 1989, by the Dallas Cowboys. Peyton Manning, 1998. That is it. Now,
Eli does not count. Eli was drafted by the Chargers. So don't say Eli.
I'll get
because you are wrong. 1,000% wrong.
Correct.
And I will call you out.
Correct. So other first-round picks that have won Super Bowls, Jim Plunkett, John Elway, Eli Manning, and Matthew Stafford, all won with teams that did not draft them. John Elway drafted by the Colts, Eli by the Chargers, Stafford by the Lions, and Jim Plunkett by the Patriots. It doesn't guarantee you success. The odds are not there. Now, there are 5 more who were drafted number 1 that led their team to a Super Bowl but did not win. Can you name them?
Let me ask you a question before I do that. Do you semi-count Drew Bledsoe?
Didn't start.
He didn't start the Super Bowl, but he did start, parts of that season.
You can, maybe.
I mean, it's kind of.
But he did lead them to a Super Bowl in '96.
He did.
And they got beat by the Packers.
So he's on I guess he's on that list.
Yes. But so that's a 50-50. You can argue yes or no.
Cam Newton. Would be one.
Mm-hmm. You just brought him up a minute ago with Thomas Dimitroff.
Oh, Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Matt Ryan's one.
Get 2 more.
Burrow.
Attaboy.
Burrow will be one.
And then one more who might actually win a Super Bowl this year with another team.
Jared Goff.
There you go.
Yep.
So the success rate of drafted number 1 is not, the odds are small, really small. But you look at all these teams that won, all had a nice ground game and a powerful offensive line that went with them. So I'm just saying there is a blueprint to do all that stuff.
Did Carson Palmer go? No, that was Kurt Warner went with Arizona.
Kurt Warner,
yeah. Palmer never went.
2008.
Mike Vick never went.
Nope.
Tim Couch never went.
Nope.
Man. Bledsoe. Jeff George. I forgot Jeff George was number 1 overall. Testaverde by the Buccaneers. Buccaneers had 2 number 1s back-to-back. You remember who they drafted the year before that? Is it in that list? Number 1 pick in the draft? Who?
1986. Does it show it?
Who? What team you're asking?
Tampa Bay had the number 1 pick in 86.
Oh,
Bo Jackson.
Yeah. I didn't know. I forgot that.
You had the number 1 pick, and he never plays it down for you. Then Jamarcus Russell as well. In 07, wasn't that?
Yeah.
Well,
he played.
Yeah, but just awful with the number 1 pick. Just awful. So you never know, man. That's why a lot of these times, like the Darnold and the Goff, these quarterbacks that are kind of thrown away and they come back again. I was laughing the day at the for some odd ass reason, the Panthers put a picture out of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And they're both on the team. And Baker Mayfield, look, ran out of Cleveland because Odell Beckham didn't like him, goes to Carolina, goes to the Rams.
Yep.
And now he's killing it, man.
Yeah.
So
I'm happy for him. I love Baker.
Absolutely.
All right, real quick. Edward wants to weigh in. Edward, what's up?
Hey, morning, guys. I don't know if you saw where Eli Manning was one of the 12 finalists for Hall of Fame. I think 2 Super Bowls and 2 MVP Super Bowls gets him there. The second comment I wanted to make, Deion Sanders. I think he's just too much of a diva. It's about him. When there was some talk about 3 or 4 years ago, Kevin Byard, being the best at his position, and there was some comparisons of him and Deion. I don't know if you recall that, especially on social media. He did have one of the greatest lines. As he was breaking about how great he was, he says, "You keep being the fan, I'll keep being the man." I think that kind of sums up Deion.
But Edward, let me hold you right there. Chase and I, we've been around some head coaches in the National Football League in college. They're all divas. I'm telling you, man. Mike Ditka, Bill Parcells, Belichick, they're all, and they earned their right to be divas. So I don't care. Bring me some excitement to town. Give me something to look forward to. I'm all about the circus of Deion, and people hate him, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But tell me why it inflames you.
It doesn't inflame me. I think there's better choices. This leads me to my third point, Joe.
Okay.
I believe if I'm the owner, you all were talking about what you would do. I would have, if I'm Amy, I'm going to have Rand's ear constantly. I'm going to be at the practices. I'm going to be at the meetings. And if it goes 0-4, I'm going to say part way with Brian Callahan. I believe in giving him more of a chance than 1 year. There looked like there was hope throughout, and I heard Dave McGinnis talking about this. That there looked like there was some improvement in certain areas, but then you go and you have a complete breakdown.
Well, Edward, also Coach McGinnis is on the payroll, so he's going to look for the sunny side of everything. I love him, but that's what he gets paid to do.
I was just giving you my opinion, Joe. But those are just my thoughts. I would be, if it's just my money, if I'm the owner, I just don't see this as close to her heart as it was Bud's. I feel like it's almost a burden to her. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so, all right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Edward. Got to run on that. Appreciate the call.
You guys are all correct. We're all trying to find a solution together.
Here's the thing. Brett Kern's going to join us coming up next.
Brett!
We're going to agree on some things. We're going to disagree on some things. But I think at the end of the day, everybody that's having this conversation wants the same thing.
Yep.
The Titans to be successful, to win a Super Bowl.
100%, man.
We may have different ways of getting there. But guess what? Like, there are 15 different ways to get to places here in Nashville. Eventually, we all come to the same place. That's fine. We can agree, we can disagree, whether it's Deion Sanders or Thomas Dimitroff or keeping Brian Callahan or not changing the thing or whatever. We all want the same thing at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
That's how it is. We'll get back to the phones after Brett Kern. He's coming up next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Reaction Monday. The Titans season has come to an end, and they will have the number 1 overall pick this spring in the draft. We say hello now to former Titans punter Brett Kern, who's on the line with us. Brett, good morning. What's up?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're feisty today. We're that's how we are. I know.
Understandable.
Before we kind of get into what's next, as a player, you did this a lot. I mean, it happened every year. The season was going to end at some point, sometimes later than others, sometimes earlier than others. But what is today like as a player going in with this team for the final time?
I'm sure the locker room, you're cleaning out your locker room today. You probably got exit meetings, meet with your position coach, potentially meet with the head coach. There's a lot of guys that are free agents, unrestricted free agents, restricted, exclusive right guys, practice squad. So, there could be potentially, 30, 40 guys that are meeting with Rand or Chad, however that structure, maybe both of them, whatever the structure looks like for them. But, signing guys to future practice squad deals and all that kind of stuff for the off season. So there's a lot going on. Honestly, being a part of teams that weren't, that didn't have great seasons, it's pretty quiet. It's probably pretty quiet in the building. Guys are walking around, probably not saying much to each other. Just because, the season, obviously you wanted it to look a lot different than what it did, and it didn't. And then anytime there's uncertainty going into an off season, ending the season in 2019, just short of the Super Bowl, guys were sad, obviously, but, to get that far to the AFC Championship game, guys were still, it was really good vibes, right? Compared to, in 2014, we were 2-14, and with Wiz, I don't even know if I said anything to anybody when I went in and cleaned out my locker. So, I'm sure there's probably, it's just pretty quiet. Guys are just walking around and, just kind of see what the off season brings.
The Titans will pick number 1 overall, at least right now. They have secured the number 1 overall pick. How do you view that? Do you use it as currency to try and add more picks? Because we know that it's more than just quarterback that this team needs. Or do you fall in love with one of these quarterbacks or potentially Travis Hunter and pick at that number 1 position?
Well, I think there's a couple different ways you can go. First of all, my opinion is you trade it. The more capital, you don't have a 3rd round pick. So the more picks you can get, whether it's this year or even next year, you can get another 1st rounder next year. I look at the Lions, what they did. 2023, their 1st round, they had 2 picks. They got Jahmyr Gibbs and Campbell, right? 2 starters. Then they go in and they have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. The 2nd round, they go get Laporta and Branch, right? So you got 4 starters in 1 draft. 2022, they have 2 1st round picks. They get Hutchinson and Jameson Williams. That's how you change your team. Not by one guy, not by one quarterback per se. I went back and I looked at what do you think is a generational quarterback? What do you think, like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Right, 10 years. Okay, so now we're going back to 2014, right? And so I went back, and I'm not counting 2024 or 2023 because if you don't have your quarterback that you picked in the 1st round, that's a problem, right? I think we could agree that that's not good. So I just looked at only 1st round quarterbacks, right? And so you're going back, so 2022 season all the way back to 2014, right? So there's 28 quarterbacks that were selected in the 1st round, okay? All those years. 9 of them, 32%, 9 of them are still with their original team. So if you go back, and even if you go back to 10 years, right? None in 14, none in 15, none in 16. You only have Patrick Mahomes in 2017, right? And then obviously 18, there's none. I mean, 2020 class is obviously the best class with Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love, right? But look at like 2021, T-Law, Zach Wilson, not with his team, Trevor Lawrence, not with his team, Lance, Fields, Jones, Kenny Pickett in 2022. Like, a quarterback is not a for sure thing. And so when you look at, the top offensive lines from this year, right? 12 of them are in the playoffs, right? One of those teams not in the top 12, the Cardinals. So 11 out of the 12 top offensive line ranked are all playoff teams, right? You look at teams that led the league in sacks, right? Broncos, Ravens, Vikings, Texans, Chargers, Bucks, Packers, all playoff teams. It starts in the trenches, right? And I think if you go get a quarterback at the number one, you're putting a lot on that person, especially if you're not going to, shore up the offensive line, defensive line. I just think the more picks that you have, that's what you need to get better quicker.
Talking to former Titans punter Brett Kern on the Chase and Big Joe show. Brett, this is kind of an odd question. Did you ever have any conversations with Bud or Amy when you were with the Titans, just in passing? How's it going? Anything like that?
Bud, no. I think just because when I got here, obviously he was older in age, and I don't think he was making it up. I mean, he came up just for game day. Maybe, shook his hand on the sidelines on Sundays. But Amy, Miss Amy's around the building. I mean, I've had lunch with her multiple times, right? She'll come in, she'll have lunch, she'll sit down, ask you how your family's doing, how the kids, how's your wife, and just talk, right? And so she's around, and she'll, you could walk by her in the hallway and she'll just stop and talk to you. So she's around. I've had plenty of conversations with her over the years.
All right, Chase and I have questions we want to give to you when you have lunch with her again. Is that okay?
Can you cover that for us?
Yeah. I'll have to filter those questions.
All right. That's good. At least you'll think about it. We appreciate that. Let me ask you this. Right now, and I know you sign with teams because the money. I get all that, Brett. But why right now would anybody come to Nashville? I mean, I'm looking at it because there's nothing that shows us or speaks out like, we got this. We're excited. Why come here? I don't get it.
I mean, it probably just depends on where you're at in your career. It's a great place to raise a family. If you got a family, you got kids. Obviously, the no state income tax is huge. I think of it as long, from a special standpoint, like you get to punt in Jacksonville, you have 2 dome games, right? And Nashville's a good place to punt, right? So, but that not everybody, I don't think there's an offensive lineman that's like, gosh, man, I just I can't wait to, pass pro indoors, right? So, it just depends on kind of what you're looking for. And so, like I said, Nashville's a great city. People are great. Personally, I think it's one of the better NFL cities to play in. And I think it's one of the better cities, as far as the NFL organization is to raise your family. So
is it, when you look at this team 3 years ago and you guys, the Titans were the number one team in the AFC to the fall where they are now, it's kind of hard to put your mind around just how quickly this franchise fell. You were part of this. I mean, you saw the ins and outs. Are you kind of like, what in the world happened in 3 years?
Kind of, yeah, but I also know it's like the NFL. It's just, I don't know. It also stands for not for long, right? It can happen, and it can happen quick. And it doesn't take much for it to kind of go south. And obviously, you have a couple of draft picks that don't work out, and that could happen. It could be injuries. Injuries happen, and then all of a sudden you don't play. You don't get the record that you want to, and there's just a lot of different variables that can go into it. And so, some of the great teams, they're obviously able to sustain it for a long time. But I mean, look at New England, right? I mean, you had all that success, and then all of a sudden a couple of pieces leave, and now it's you have a coach, you just fired him for 1 year, right? And they're picking in the draft that they've never picked before in the last 20 years while they had Belichick and Brady. So I mean, it doesn't take much, right? And so obviously that's why the draft is so important. And I think too, like I said, you get a lot of draft picks in there, and you get these players in that can make impacts. It's like guys want to be a part of that too, right? And then there's other teams, that are in cap trouble, right? And they know they're not going to get paid, right? And they know they can go to a team that has cap space. That's also important too. Like, you don't get to play in the NFL for your whole life, right? There's a window on your time to play. And so if you can go somewhere that can pay you and financially take care of you, you're going to do that, right? It's go back to the original question. It just doesn't take much in this league, and it can happen quick. And the next thing you know, you're like, wow, we have the first overall pick. How did this happen, right?
Yeah.
Brett Kern is with us here on the Chase and Big Joe show. So when you look at special teams, and let's just go on the premise that Brian Callahan's back as the head coach, because it kind of feels that way at this point. Right. When you look at special teams for the Titans, what do you think needs to change?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think, it's Colt's first year, right? I mean, this is Brian's first year too. There was a lot of first year guys. And so I do feel like, special teams obviously started out shaky. There's no doubt about that. But then as the season went on, it progressed. It got better. There were less penalties on special teams, especially ones that, just kill you. Like you get a return for 15, 20 yards and then there's a penalty, and all of a sudden, instead of getting those 20 yards on their turn, now you go back 10 yards and it's a 30-yard penalty, right? And so, there was less of that going on. And I do think that, special teams got better. And for Colt, especially, like if the Titans prioritize, and I think we've talked about this before, but if you prioritize, like, hey, Colt, like you get 3 or 4 roster spots, like go find your dudes. Like we'll do the best that we can to sign him. We'll do the best to bring him in. Like I said, 2017, I don't make my first Pro Bowl just because of how I punted the ball, right? No. Like John brought in dudes. Like he brought in Bates and Treywick and guys that have experience and there were guys that just took a lot of pride in special teams. And so like if Cole could get that, and if he can go get some dudes that can do that, right? I think it all of a sudden you go from like our special teams aren't very great to, hey, now you got a top 5 unit in the league. So.
Brett, always appreciate the discussions with you. I know we'll continue to have these because there's going to be a lot to discuss in this offseason with the number 1 overall pick coming to Nashville, but going to be fun for sure. Appreciate it.
When's the draft?
That's a great question.
Late April, baby.
That's a great question.
Y'all take care.
All right. We'll see you. Thanks, man.
Chaser, when we come back, the number 1 pick that the Titans have, there's also a high school in Middle Tennessee that had a player that went number 1 in the NFL draft. You know who it is? Don't answer. We'll tell you after the break.
I think I do.
Okay.
We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chasing Big Joe, 1025-1063 The Game.
knowing it's fresh, just big picture-wise, what do you imagine the number one pick or what that can turn into, can do for a franchise where you are in terms of injecting you with either a premier talent or the picks that might result?
That's the way the league's designed. It's designed to continue to allow the teams that don't play as well to have chances to continue to improve their teams. And that's why the draft has always been the way it is. The order is why the teams with the worst records pick at the top. It's not a position I'd ever want to be in again. And but there is the benefit of that, as it does open up some opportunities for you to try to improve your football team. And not only that, that you get the first pick, you get the first pick in the rounds after that as well. So you do have a chance to improve your team. I've seen it done. I've been a part of it. It is the one bonus to a season like this. And again, not one I ever want to be a part of again, but we are here and we'll use it to our advantage to improve our team as best we can.
It was Brian Callahan yesterday, back here chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Titans do have the number one overall pick, and he does make a good point that we haven't really talked about. Obviously, everybody's going to be looking at what they do at number one, but you also get pick 33. You also get pick 60
something
5. I mean,
right.
like you get the number one in every round.
Aren't they out a third rounder because of?
Well, they don't have it. You're right. They don't have a third rounder right now. But
I don't know how that works. Listen, you coached your team to the worst team in the league, number one pick. You don't deserve to come back to pick number one next year. Get out of town. Beat it.
I mean, I'm sitting here advocating for a new GM, so I don't have a lot of room to talk. But the new GM's gotten people are like, you got to give him 2 years. Well, the GM's gotten 2 years.
Yeah.
The coach is not, and the coach, walked into a bad situation. So I'm a little more.
I hate why. I mean,
you have your opinion.
When
I have my opinion.
Let me ask you this: you go out on a blind date, okay, in your lifetime, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the first 30 seconds what's happening. We all do, right?
Yeah,
we all do. That's the same place for a lot of things in life. When I got a job in the corporate world, I knew in 30 seconds. What the hell am I doing here? We all know things. It doesn't take a while to figure that out.
Right.
We all know things. And people come back with the Dan Campbell thing for the Lions. Well, in 21. Look, there was
those
something
guys played for him.
Building there. They were terrible, but I don't see the same thing over here off East Bank, man. Not at all.
Yeah. Adam in Portland has been waiting very patiently, wants to weigh in on Deion. What's up, Adam?
I just feel like it would be irresponsible to bring his kid here, man. If I look at what this whole season was about, like what the season is sad anyway. Like for a Titans fan, you were really sick all year because you started out with a big lead against Chicago, in Chicago on the road. Defense didn't look half bad. Then you watched your quarterback hand the game away,
right.
Hand it away. And then the next week, he did it again. That's what I'm going to remember about the season is that we had such a bonehead at quarterback. But with that being said, you put the other guy in, he looks very similar. So if you bring a rookie here, what's he going to look like, man? I'm just scared of it. I'm scared to have that pick and it be used irresponsibly because it doesn't really matter if you have the best quarterback in the world if the team around him sucks. So I'm worried about what they're going to do with that pick.
Thank you.
I think that's very fair, Adam, and I hope we're crushing it today like Robbie was. So appreciate you.
Well, that's what you've been saying for a while, Chase. Is that you don't trust them to have the pick.
No, I don't
see what they do and all that. All right, so Nashville tied to the number one overall pick. The city of Nashville High School has a guy that went number one overall in the NFL pick. Do you know who it was and what high school he went to?
Well, I don't know if I know the school. I'm just going to take a guess. Ed Too Tall Jones.
Incorrect. He's from Jackson, Tennessee.
Okay.
But that's a good one.
But TSU.
Yes. Bill Wade went to Montgomery Bell Academy, was the number one draft choice in the NFL in 1952. And yes, it does matter because it's the National Football League. He spent 2 years in military service, got out as with the Rams from 56 to 60 or 54 to 61, 54 to 60, Bears 61 to 67. And led the Bears to an NFL championship.
He's most famous for being with the Bears.
With the Bears.
I didn't even know he was with the Rams.
Yep. He got drafted by the Rams in the 50s and all that. And it's I've actually asked Bill Belichick this question. Bill Belichick's favorite player is Bill Wade.
Oh, really?
His dad coached him at Vanderbilt.
Oh, that's cool.
And I have it on tape somewhere. I'll find
Is
it.
that why Bill was born in Nashville?
That's correct.
Because his dad was coaching at Vandy?
Yep, and then went to Navy. But and I'll find the clip because it's pretty cool. Hear Belichick talk about Bill Wade, about football and everything. I'll find the clip and send it to Dr. Crane.
Okay. Well, please do that. 615-737-1025. Our text line is, very
on fire.
It's on fire in Fuego. Let's see. What would y'all I have to read this one. Robbie, I hope you're listening. 9254. What would y'all think about getting Joe Milton from New England and then using our first round pick to get something besides a quarterback? Listen, Joe Milton had a nice day yesterday. They won, so thank you to Joe Milton for helping the Titans get the number 1 overall pick. Joe Milton is not an everyday starter in the National Football League.
Not unless you want to knock out somebody in the third deck.
At Nissan, at this current Nissan Stadium, I mean, he could rip one from his own 20 and put it in the river.
Right. Did you see him scramble yesterday, that play he did?
Yeah.
I mean, he had like 8 guys chasing him. He scrambled and going against his body, just sent a rocket like 30 yards in the end zone.
Dude, look, the dude has an arm. The dude definitely has it. By the way, speaking of just talking about former balls or VFLs, shout out to Derek Barnett. Still in the league, made a huge play yesterday.
Right.
He's had a decent season with the Texans. We saw him break Reggie White's record with Tennessee at the Music City Bowl at Nissan Stadium. That was pretty cool. Brentwood Academy guy, in front of, I'm sure he had a ton of family there yesterday. But that was cool to see.
No, I agree. And he's done it. He got let go by the Eagles. Did he go someplace after that? Or the Texans pick him up immediately, right?
I don't remember.
Picked him up and they come
He
here.
had like a gap year, I believe.
Something
like
right?
that. There was a few months where he just was not playing.
And then just has come apart and just played really well with them. I mean, Titans could have picked him up easily. So, we can go back and say they could have got this guy, that guy. They didn't get that guy. But now I know it's just going forward. And I think they go forward and you hire Deion Sanders.
Kristen Dixon has a really good question on our text line that I will read coming up next. I think it's one that'll make you think. For sure. It's Chasing Big Joe here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Chasing Big Joe, 1025, 1063, The Game. A successful station of Cromwell Media. He's Big Joe.
Hot
I'm
station.
Chase McCabe. Dr.
Hot.
Crane, Nick Frazier on the ones and twos. A text that I want to read that I think is an interesting one.
Okay.
Chris and Dixon says, how do you rate Callahan and the situation that he walked into when you compare it to Dan Quinn, Gerard Mayo, Raheem Morris, or the other new coaches in 2024?
Well, you had carte blanche, pretty much, hire your dad. They went out and got your dad.
Yep.
Man, you had everything at your disposal. They spent money. They got you 2 good receivers. Don't stop making excuses for Callahan, y'all. It ain't working.
Yeah, but guess what he didn't have? Here's the deal. You walked it like Dan Quinn goes into Washington. They had the 2nd overall pick. They draft a quarterback. Now, again, nobody knows how that's going to turn out.
Right.
It turned out a lot better than people thought it did. Look, they
Right.
liked him. A lot of teams liked him, thought, hey, this kid can be pretty good, won the Heisman. Like, he's got an NFL pedigree. But it turned out a lot better than anybody thought. And just like C.J. Stroud in Houston did the year before. But
Go back to your statement. It turned out a lot better.
than right, because he was a rookie. But going into this year, when we talked about Will Levis, it was seen some good, seen some bad. I don't know.
Right.
Like, this is the year you have to figure out if he's the guy or not. But you went in going that we're going to figure it out this year. And Callahan was hired, I think everybody has this narrative that he was hired to make Will Levis be, a great quarterback. I think he was hired to figure out what he was.
I think he was hired to make him a great quarterback. Because
But you can't all.
No. They were quick to spout out Stafford and Manning and Derek Carr and
Yeah.
Burrow.
Where's that Amy clip that talking about the ran of the great quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I agree.
Let us know when you find that. Yeah.
I understand and I agree, but I also think he knew, there were times, like, if you go back and listen to him talking after some of these games, it was kind of like, yeah, this kid ain't it. And like, we know that now. He's not it.
So why'd you keep playing him? Were you forced to play him?
No, but you keep playing him. I actually agree with that. You keep, and you agreed with me with that at some point during the season. You keep playing him till the end, because then you take away every excuse. You go, hey, we played him virtually the whole season. He wasn't very good. And they finally got to a point where he was bad enough that it's like, hey, we just want to win, and they put Rudolph in.
Did you need a whole season to figure that out? You knew when you knew.
Probably not.
Right.
But you do it because then you take every excuse away from the owner or anybody else for questioning whether he was the guy or not.
Yeah.
There's no question anymore.
So let's stop this comparison to other teams. He's here. All right. It's what it is when he's here. And it happened. And he's just not a good head coach. He could be a great assistant coach down the line. That's fine. He's just not a good head coach. And I think you guys know that. And it's okay to say that. It's okay. If he's not good at something. It has nothing to do with the character of the man. By all accounts, I hear he's a damn fine man. Just not a good coach. That's it.
Okay. I mean, and look, and you're going to stand on that. I'm going to hide behind I want a new GM and he can figure it out. That's what I'm saying.
Damn.
I mean, I'm not hiding behind it. That's my opinion. I mean, I think the GM should decide. If the GM comes in and goes, yeah, I know Brian. I like Brian. Brian's a good coach.
All right, let me ask you this. It's 10:38. Do you think we hear anything today about anybody being let go from the Tennessee Titans?
Yes. I think that when Brian Callahan speaks at 1:30, he will probably announce some staff changes. I think Colt Anderson's out.
Which one's that?
Special teams.
Nobody gives a damn.
That's not true. We've talked about it quite a bit.
Get him out. I mean, it's a special teams coach. We want stuff at the top, man.
Amy likes to fire people on Tuesday. Vrabel was a Tuesday. I think Robinson was a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember with Malarkey. But I I don't think if there's anything front office wise.
Now you got me wondering about Malarkey. You got a little conspiracy. I like this.
Now that I say that, she'll do it this afternoon.
I don't know. I mean, other teams.
I don't think Brian Callahan's gonna go to the podium and go, by the way, Amy wants me to let y'all know Rand's fired. If he does, it'll just make me laugh even harder at this organization. Hey, Brian, Brian, come here for a second. Before you got that, will you let them know we're firing some people, please? Thank you. Here's Amy.
Okay.
This was last year.
I have high expectations, and I'll never apologize for that. And these fans deserve a great team, and they deserve a championship brought to the city. And that's what we're going to work towards. And I'm prepared to make the hard decisions to hopefully get us there sooner. This team has a bright future. We have Rand. We have a promising young quarterback. I mean, the sky's the limit. We've got cap space. We've got a great draft position. Things are bright for the Titans. I'm really very, very optimistic. And I'd like to thank the fans for hanging with us this year. Our season was unacceptable, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there sooner rather than later.
They're just going to take that clip and run it back this year.
That just reminds me of when Homer got the hair, remember? And he stood up and he started speaking in front of the auditorium of his co-workers, and he had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He's reading off a sheet of paper. That's Homer Simpson just reading off a sheet of paper. I mean, it's just look. I'm glad she talked.
Can trust what this bald man has to say.
I'm glad she talked. Now talk more.
Yeah,
talk more.
Well, and that was with Mike Keith.
Yeah,
reading off a prompter,
right?
Probably.
Yeah.
And
so
look,
we
when
want
I
to hear
say-
more, man.
I want to make sure that everybody knows this. When I bring up and I call this two-tone TV, I'm not taking shots at Mike Keith by any means.
He's on
Mike
the
is
payroll.
Mike is doing his job, and Mike is fantastic at his job and one of my favorite people. So that is not directed at Mike Keith by any means. He's doing what he's asked to do. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it'll happen, but I would love to see at 1:30 today, when everybody's there to hear Brian Callahan, Amy walks out, even if she just gives a statement, even if she just walks out and says, hey, everyone, thank you for being here. Just want to let you know this is what we're going to do, and then be done. Now, if she fires somebody, she should probably stay up there and take the questions and not let Brian do that. But
Yeah. A quick story. My first day when I started at Channel 4, the news director got fired, right? I was standing next to him when he got fired. I had just started. I'd been there an hour at work. And
so hiring you got him fired.
And his pager goes off. Pager, yes. It said, I got to go up. They need me up front. He never came back. Right. So I was thinking, oh man, what happened after? And so I went to the next in line and said, hey, I just started. Am I good? And they're like, yeah, you're fine. We had let the news director go and he's out of here. It was just so weird, but was it needed? Yeah, but it happened and it's uncomfortable. I get it, man. But you think it's for the best, then move on and go down the line. And that's what I think it is now for this team. Just go down the line, fire them all, move down the line, hire Dion. Damn it. If we're going to go 3-14, let's have some fun, right? Let's have some 3-14 fun, not getting your ass kicked on January the 5th by a football team that really just pushed you around the field. There we go.
Okay. Let me ask you this real quick. You're on the Dion train. That's fine.
Heck yeah, I am.
If not him, though, and you fire Brian Callahan, like you say, who are some realistic options for this team that would actually, like, Ben Johnson is going to have his pick. He's not coming here.
No.
Aaron Glenn, maybe if you go defense, because a lot of times if you're at offense, you go defense. I don't love that.
No.
Who else is it? Slowick. I don't think he gets a job this year. Joe Brady.
No.
Offensive guy. I mean, is he better than Callahan?
What's Joe Brady working with?
I mean,
yeah, go ahead and say it. Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes you
look
look
pretty good.
Yeah, it makes you look
But I
better.
mean, Brian Callahan was working with Joe Burrow.
Why not Pete Carroll?
I would take Pete
Why
Carroll.
not?
I would take Pete Carroll in a heartbeat.
He can hire a good staff. He can hire a good staff. Why not? All these guys, you're hiring Callahan 2.0. Slowick and Ben Johnson. Got to have players, man, and kind of figure this thing out. Callahan, we saw him this year. Not going to do it. Not going to happen.
All right, here's one, and I'm going to throw up a little bit by saying this, but I'm just putting this out there. Mike McCarthy.
No.
I'd blast them if they did that, but he's a free agent right now.
He is.
He does not have a contract. Jerry keeps saying that he loves him, but he won't give him a contract extension. So Jerry's trying to figure that out. So now he's free to go interview with other teams. He's won a Super Bowl. He's gotten the Cowboys to the playoffs. So, based on that, is he an upgrade?
Maybe.
I would hate it, but I'm just saying.
But don't you want some excitement, though, man?
Cliff Kingsbury?
Cliff Kingsbury is interesting, but I was watching, I think it was Schefter that said it yesterday, and it's a very good point. He's got a good situation right now as an OC, and he's still getting paid by the Cardinals as for the buyout for the head coach. He can be very selective on his next job. So I could almost see him staying put for a year and taking that check from the Cardinals for another year and then maybe jumping in. So, because if I'm him, I don't take this job. I don't even I answer the phone and go, thanks, no thanks. I don't even interview for it. But, the Bears, maybe he's intrigued by the Bears. Maybe he's intrigued by the Jags because you got Lawrence. I wouldn't be intrigued by here because you don't have there's no quarterback.
What if she did a mea culpa and said, I'm sorry, Mike Vrabel, you're now my GM head coach?
Oh, God.
No, this is, I know it's outlandish, but I think that would just be great.
Or even better, she calls Rob and said, you two want to come back?
It just says, I'm sorry, but
I messed up.
Let's work together on this. You guys take the team and go because I know you know how to win. Would that not just set the world on fire?
I would lean back in this chair, light a cigar, and go, let's go.
Right.
let's watch this unfold together. Coming up next, we'll tell you what day it is and celebrity birthdays, as we always do. It's Chasing Big Joe, presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game here on this, what day is it? Monday. It's Reaction Monday. DVD coming up next. They'll have full reaction. Plus Brian Callahan scheduled to speak at 1:30 today. We've really enjoyed the interaction. Look, if she made a change and by the end of the day announced that, she's cleaned house, and then the end result is Pete Carroll comes in basically and has full control, I wouldn't hate that.
Not at all.
I wouldn't hate that at all. I would trust that.
Guy's a winner, knows the league. Absolutely. Just we need to see the white smoke coming out of the facilities there at some point. Put the white smoke up, know that change is happening. And and I wouldn't, I'm not being a jerk about the special teams guy. Nobody cares, right? I mean, we want to see if it's this historic of a day, give me something at the top.
Yeah.
The special teams coach, whatever, that's fine. I need something more tangible. I need something at the top.
With that, let's get to what day is it and celebrity birthdays.
All right, gentlemen, there we go. First day we have here is Apple Tree Day. So if you like apples.
Oh, do. How about these apples?
I like apples.
I don't know about those apples, Joe. But next we have is Cuddle Up Day. So grab
nice.
stuffed animal, your animal itself, and
It's
just
good
cuddle.
Springsteen
Don't touch
song.
me.
Yep.
We also have Epiphany Day. Today is the Epiphany of the Magi with Jesus.
I don't know her.
Oh, she's a nice lady.
Oh, cool.
Nice lady.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Zen Fondle.
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 Let's see. National Thank God It's Monday Day, which is
Should thank God for every day.
bingo.
Right.
National Bean Day is next. So, people that like the beans. National King Cake Day is on the docket. So King Cake, Mardi Gras coming up. And all that.
Yeah.
National Shortbread Day. Ooh, yum. National Smith Day.
What's that about?
I don't know. It's a guy that wears a tuxedo shirt. I really wish I could tell you.
Okay.
We also have National Take a Poet Out to Lunch Day.
Okay.
So if you know a poet,
Right here. So I expect to be taking the Mexican today by noon. Thanks, Nick.
Okay. National Take Down the Christmas Tree Day. It's normally what people do. Take it down on the Epiphany. National Technology Day. National Weigh-In Day. All those resolutions and goals, as Joe calls it. World Day of War Orphans. So that's the last one to wrap it up.
All right, time for celebrity birthdays. You got to get these within 2. Here we go, boys. Our first birthday, Lou Holtz. How old is Lou Holtz today?
83.
88.
87. Dr. Crane's on board with his fellow Catholic, right?
Yes.
Nancy Lopez, the esteemed ladies golfer, married to former New York Met third baseman Ray Knight.
61.
70.
68, 2-0, Dr. Crane. Howie Long, my all-time favorite football player, Howie Long. The reason I wore number 75.
64.
63.
63 exactly. Dr. Crane's up 4-0. Former Giants punter who spent, I think, 40 years in the National Football League, Sean Henry. Sean Landetta.
63.
60.
62. Chase is on the board. 4-1. Norm Charlton, former Cincinnati Reds reliever.
Was he part of the Nasty Boys?
He was. It was him, Rob Dibble, and David James.
I'm going to say 62.
64.
61. Chasers battle back. 4-2, Dr. Crane. Charles Haley, who I think might have, Brady's got the most, but I think he's got like 5 or 6 Super Bowl rings. Charles Haley.
I feel like all these guys are around the same age. 64.
65.
60. Keenan McCardell, former Jacksonville Jaguar receiver.
52.
58.
54. Chasers now down 1, 4-3, Dr. Crane. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk, you can see on the Pat McAfee show every day.
Yeah. 44.
47.
40. Our last birthday, we're going all sports today. Jameis Winston. Now, Chaser, you're down 4-3. You could win this.
Famous Jameis. 33.
32.
He is 30. With that, Dr. Crane wins 5-3. Good job, boys.
Thank you.
Good job, Dr. Crane. That is going to do it for us. We'll see what happens between now and 9 o'clock tomorrow, but don't go anywhere because DVD coming up next with full reaction. Of course, Jared this afternoon at 2.
Yeah, listen to the guys from 11 to noon because every time Chase and I get off the air, breaking news happens.
Oh, yeah.
So stick it right here with these guys that are going on. Hey, listen, we talked yesterday about how this Monday is the most important Monday of the year because we had Thanksgiving, you had Christmas, a lot of things to look forward to. Now you're thinking, oh, my goodness, there's nothing on the horizon. Don't think that way, okay, guys? Don't think that way. Find your gratitude, find your love, say your prayers, pray for opportunities, and know that we love you. If you're going through something rough or tough, on your cell phone, dial 988 or text 988. Just talk to somebody because we want you to know that you are tremendously loved. And if something happened to you, you'll be tremendously missed. Know that we love you, and more importantly, God loves you.
Amen to that. Peace, love, rock and roll. DVD coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.